on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is dedicated to empowering our communities by providing progressive talk radio for our audience. We strive to be an intersectional voice for the voiceless. As a Black-owned and operated station, we are committed to highlighting diverse perspectives and creating safe spaces for social and cultural conversations. And we don't shy away from the hard conversations about current events. We endeavor to be a beacon of hope and understanding, while boldly challenging listeners to think more deeply about difficult topics that impact us all. With this in mind, our mission statement at KBLA Talk 1580 is simple: to create an inclusive platform that promotes civil discourse through honest dialogue and encourages personal growth among our listeners, so they can become the active agents of change. Our vision is to establish ourselves as the premier radio network with relevant programming across the beloved community, connecting people through shared experiences and collective power for lasting impact beyond these challenging times.
You ready?
It's time for the Rob Report with Robin Ayers.
Highlighting people and things you should know about.
Robin's got you covered. Follow Robin at Robin Ayers. You're listening to the Rob Report on KBLA Talk 1580.
Robin's got a lot to talk about.
All right, cool. Yeah. Talk to me, baby. You're so pretty, little missy, baby.
You are inside the Raw Report on KBLA Talk 1580, where we bring you the latest in entertainment news, trending topics, and interviews. I'm your host, Robin Ayers, with you Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. On that ride home, in that traffic, wherever you are. You might already be at home with your feet kicked up, and that's cool if you are. Listen, what a great show. I'm so excited to talk about all of the things we're going to break down today. Andy, I'm not sure if we can play Tory Lanez anymore. Is that like a thing? Is it canceled?
No,
or we can? Okay,
no,
okay, all right.
canceled.
We'll see, because I was rocking out to it. Listen, if at any point you want to call in today and weigh in on the topics, you can absolutely do that by calling 1-800-920-1580. You can also join us right now over in our YouTube chat. That's always fun, and I love to have you guys in there. You can do that by going over to KBLA 1580. If you want, you can type in the Raw Report, and see what pops up. I'll be there shining bright with my smile, my guest and I today. So go ahead and do that. Let me give you a couple of updates, and before we get the show started, I want to say happy birthday. Happy birthday to Megan Good. Megan Good is living her best life right now. She's out there with her new boo, okay, Jonathan Majors, you all know that. Also, Cardi B, we talked about this recently. Cardi B, who infamously threw a microphone at someone who poured water on her as she was performing, threw water on her. That microphone just sold for nearly $100,000. Whoever got that microphone, I can't be mad. Listen, I can't be mad. So, congratulations to them, I guess. Also, Made in America, speaking of performances, Made in America Festival has been canceled this year, and that is, now, we don't know exactly why. We can they haven't even alluded to it. They just said that there's some things that they can't necessarily get by. We know that Lizzo and SZA were set to headline, and we already know what's going on with Lizzo right now. So we don't know if maybe that has something to do with it, possibly. We're not sure, but we know that it has been canceled, maybe even postponed. We will keep our eye out on that for you. If you don't know what Made in America Festival is, it's been around for a while. 2012 is when it was founded by Jay-Z. So it's a big deal. It is a big deal. It's where music comes together, culture, performances, all that stuff. So, again, it's been canceled. Congratulations goes out to Sierra and Russell Wilson on baby number 4. Congratulations to y'all. I think that is such a big deal. And lastly, congratulations to Stacey Dash. She has celebrated 7 years of sobriety. Now, I know Stacey Dash be people be going in on Stacey Dash, but anytime one of us are doing well in life and they're doing better than they had been, I'm going to congratulate you, on her sobriety. So good for her. That's all I got for you today. Let's go ahead and drop the Raw report, Andy.
Now it's time for a breakdown.
Well, you already know what time it is. You know we're talking about Tory Lanez, rather. He has been sentenced to 10 years. We'll break it down, talk about it with our contributor for the day. We're also going to talk about Will.i.am, who talked about something that was pretty interesting, and I've noticed some things as well. I'm going to bring that to the mic too. I've noticed some things, I'll just say. But it's very interesting. We'll see if we can get to all of these topics. We're also supposed to be talking about Raven-Symoné and having all of these procedures done before the age of 18 years old. Talk about beauty standards in society right now. It's interesting. But we will get to all of that on the other side. You are listening to the Raw Report on KBLA Talk 1580. Stay right there.
Yo, what's going on? It's your boy Eric Bellinger hanging out right here with my family at the Raw Report. Keep it locked.
You're inside the Raw Report with Robin Ayers on KBLA Talk 1580.
Moments like my daughter telling me a new joke mean a lot to me. But after being diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, or MBC, which is breast cancer that is spread to other parts of the body, they mean even more. I take Ibrance, palbociclib.
Ibrance 125 milligram tablets with an aromatase inhibitor is for adults with HR-positive HER2-negative MBC as the first hormonal-based therapy. Ask your doctor about Ibrance and visit Ibrance.com. Ibrance may cause low white blood cell counts that may lead to serious infections. Ibrance may cause severe inflammation of the lungs. Both of these can lead to death. Tell your doctor right away if you have new or worsening symptoms, including trouble breathing, shortness of breath, cough, or chest pain. Before taking Ibrance, tell your doctor if you have fever, chills, or other signs of infection, liver or kidney problems, are or plan to become pregnant, or are breastfeeding. Common side effects include low red blood cell and low platelet counts, infections, tiredness, nausea, sore mouth, abnormalities in liver blood tests, diarrhea, hair thinning or loss, vomiting, rash, and loss of appetite.
Need help with the job hunt? It can be challenging, but don't worry. LA County has your back. With a variety of available support services, you'll get the help you need while finding a job. We're here to help you succeed. Let's get started. Find out if you qualify at recovery.lacounty.gov/programs. That's recovery.lacounty.gov/programs. LA County and you, moving forward together.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminding you that we keep us safe. The Center for the Pacific Asian Family was founded to help address domestic violence and sexual assault in the Asian and the Pacific Islander communities. The Center for the Pacific Asian Family's mission is to build healthy and safe communities by addressing the root causes and consequences of family violence and violence against women. They are committed to meeting the specific cultural and language needs of the Asian and Pacific Islander women and their families. CPAF's vision is of an Asian and Pacific Islander community that embraces healthy relationships and works in partnership with other communities to eradicate all forms of violence. To access services, volunteer, or for more info, visit nurturingchange.org. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe everyone deserves to be safe. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Giving you your daily dose of entertainment and celebrity news. You're inside the Robin Report with Robin Ayers on KBLA Talk 1580.
Well, you already know I am not here to do it by myself. I am so excited to have this wonderful, wonderful contributor with me today. She's new to the Raw Report, but she ain't new to the game, y'all. Trust me when I tell you. Please help me welcome Niele Anderson, a multimedia journalist. I want you, please do us the honor in introducing yourself and telling us a little bit more about you.
Well, thank you for having me first, Robin. Nice to meet you. Love the show.
Thank you.
Born and raised in L.A., so this is like such a cool space to be in where it's black, you know, and the conversation is about us, for us, by us. Love it.
Yeah.
But grew up here in L.A. I work at the Los Angeles Sentinel, which is right down the street. You guys are our neighbors.
Yeah.
And we're celebrating 90 years commitment to advocacy, Black news, Black press. So we're celebrating that this year. And, of course, we're the home of Taste the Soul.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We're getting ready for that.
Taste the Soul, right?
Yeah, we're getting ready for that on October 21st. And I'll give you guys a little inside information. Tiffany Haddish, that's all I'm going to say, and Taste the Soul, that's all I'm going to say. More details coming about that. And then for 90 years, you know, the Sentinel has been the source of Black news when we talk about people wanting to know what's happening in our community from our perspective. And now we've gone to having a partnership with CBS, KCAL 9. And so on Thursdays at 10:45 a.m., you can check me out with Amy Johnson for the Sentinel Community Insider. And so this is where I go to KCAL 9, and we talk about our headlines. So just congratulations to the legacy of the Sentinel from going from print to digital. Now they own TV.
Oh, and you are there. You were right there in the forefront. That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
And you were, and continue on, because I know you're up to a lot of things here, Niele.
Oh, and then I'm excited to talk about another project I'm working with under James DuBose. James DuBose started Fox Soul. You know, he and I started, we were like day ones over there. And now he's decided to launch his own streaming platform, and it's called In the Black. And so I'm excited about that. It launches October 2nd. I mean, Vivica Fox is a part of it, Jeezy, the Jasmine brand. And I'm heading up the news department. So I'm really excited about that.
And congratulations to him. I've been watching all the news unfold, and, you know, there's so many people who are down to support. And so we've been watching it all. And so congratulations to you as well for being a part of that. And one thing that I see about you, you stay Black, okay? You stay Black, okay? And talk Black and talk Black news and what's important to our community. So that's always appreciated. Yeah, for sure. So you guys definitely make sure that you check her out. We'll talk more about where we can find you a little bit later and how we can keep up with you as well. And because you know topics that are always happening in our community and with our people, I'm sure you've been following the Tory Lanez story and what's happened with him. Obviously, we knew he had been charged and now convicted and now sentenced to 10 years for shooting Megan Thee Stallion in the foot. Now, here's the thing. I really do watch and read, and I read a lot of the comments, even when I see, I read everything. So I might read a news article, I might read blogs or whatever it is. I also read comments because I want to get a feel for what is out there and who's saying things, and do people make sense or not. Overall, can you give us your thought? We already know he's been sentenced, he's been convicted, so not necessarily whether you believe it or not, but, just your overall thought on this sentencing. Was that excessive? Is that just enough? Your thoughts?
I mean, I'm probably going to get some negative calls, but I feel bad. I think that I remember that night because it was during COVID. That's when I really found out who Tory Lanez was.
Oh, okay.
When he had the IG Lives, I was listening to D-Nice, and then he would pop up, and then I'd go over there and look at him, and then I'd be like, oh, that's a little too ratchet. Let me go back over here to D-Nice. So that's how I was introduced to him, and I remember that night. I remember Meg Thee Stallion in the pool. I remember Kylie behind her, Tory Lanez in the background.
Yeah.
And then it's like, this happened.
Yeah.
But what I do know, that there was a lot of sex, drugs, and rock and roll going on.
There was.
And so I just don't know what happened in that car. Beyonce has the lyrics playing a whole lot of victim and the villain at the same time. And I think that goes for Tory as well as Megan. And I'm just that's how I feel about the situation.
You're not alone. You are not alone. Now, here is the thing. I believe I named the flyer on today's show. Why is he still receiving so much support? I know we have a tendency to do that. Our people, it doesn't matter who's convicted. It doesn't matter who's charged. We support people. We stand by you. We stand by you, even if we know that you're guilty. I don't know what that is and what to attribute that to. Maybe we just it's just a die-hard, get behind our people. But at the same time, we experience so much hate against each other, and I can't really explain that. That's why these conversations are important. But I'm noticing, obviously, you have a huge split. You have a lot of support for Megan Thee Stallion. You have a lot of support for her. Everyone, especially black women particularly, are getting behind her, and they're hoping she heals. They're saying Tory, he's got what he's deserved. Here's the thing. I'm not sure the entire story unfolded or was explained the way that we all needed to be explained in order for us to be settled with that decision.
100%.
Partly because Tory has not gotten up there. He was advised against it, but he had not gotten up there and spoken for himself. So we're trying to put all the pieces of the puzzle together. Now, I might receive some hate too. Everybody's he was convicted. We understand that, but again, I think there are some gaps. There are some little holes here that we can't necessarily feel.
Right. There was a lot of drugs. There was a lot of alcohol that night that all were partaking in.
Sure.
There was a time where Megan left the building and she wanted the house and she wanted to go back. Why go back if there's so much mayhem? And then and these are all alleged, but I know this is some of the things that came out in court. We also know that Kylie Jenner put all of them out the house. So Tory apparently wasn't the only one acting a fool. And allegedly, Megan was talking to him wild and crazy, not justifying her being shot, but we have Napoleon Shortman's complex working number one. We have drugs and alcohol. That is at the core of all of this. You have a friend sleeping with the friend, and they're all in the car together, and then you still have drugs and alcohol. So I'm just saying that grace is okay to give, and I'm just saying that victim and villain sometimes are the same person. And I think 10 years is just tragic. I mean, it's a horrible lesson for him to learn, but hopefully he'll get time served. So he's not going to have to serve all 10 years. So, I mean, it's just a rough lesson to learn, but I think that there's some accountability that's not being taken by other people in the situation.
Okay, and that's well said. There are people who are making a great point, and they're pointing out all different kinds of examples where X, Y, and Z, these people have received lesser sentences for lesser charges, right? Could that be true? Is this a situation where a judge perhaps maybe wants to make an example out of Tory Lanez? Is 10 years excessive for what he did? Because in fact, if they have decided and there was enough information and proof to convict this man, they all have it in their minds that this actually did happen. So fine. If he is guilty, then he is guilty. So he should serve something. He should serve some time, right? But is 10 years excessive?
I think Tory's biggest issue was his mouth during the whole process. He had no remorse. He was on record calling the other young lady the friend. So his behavior during the trial, I think, got him that 10 years. There was no remorse. If he would have had, some remorse and I apologize, things got out of hand. He never did that. He always pushed the angle that it wasn't me. And so I think he sentenced himself.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And so he actually did speak out in court today. We know that. Is it just too late?
It's too late.
It's too late.
It's way too late.
So you feel that it was already decided upon
because of his behavior after he was arrested and during the trial, and all of the things that he didn't have to do and say that he did. I think that is why he went to jail. Because I mean, come on, Megan Thee Stallion, cool rapper, like her a lot. But she's not rapping about wholesome things. You know, she's not rapping about being Michelle Obama. Now, hats off to her, going to the HBCU, love it. I think that was so good for young black girls to see that are hotties. You know, you a hottie, but you're going to get your education. Applaud her for that.
Absolutely.
But we're talking about somebody that does street things, hangs out in the club, you know, so she's not a victim.
Okay. That's fair enough. Now, Iggy Azalea, who's also a rapper, she's a white rapper, here's what's interesting. She sent a letter of support. I will put that in quotations just because she claims that it was not in support, but she did. There were dozens of people who reached out in support of Tory Lanez, and they were sent to the judge. She was outed by one of the reporters or someone in court who was privy to that information. She was outed by sending her letter in, and now she's getting obviously so much backlash for being in support of Tory Lanez. However, she did come out with her own statement, and she says, for the record, I have not been in touch with Tory for months. She says she doesn't have a reason to be. She also says, I don't support anyone. The whole thing is full of oddities. My letter never mentioned anything in regard to what happened that night. She says, I was told this was for the judge only, yet it's being discussed in public, and I never intended to make a public statement. She wrote more things. Is this a fair thing? Is it unfair that she's being drugged through the mud right now because of her letter of support towards Tory?
It's the culture we live in, and you have to expect that. She wrote a character letter, so I get it. Her letter was about his character based upon her relationship with him. He's probably a professional producer, a great writer. You know, he's a stand-up guy in that type of stuff. It was a character letter. But you have to know, in this culture, in this time, everything is fair game.
It is fair game.
It's not fair, though. It's not fair. I don't like it. Girl, I don't like it. But, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. It goes to the point that we were making yesterday about Neo, when Neo recently made his statement about what he felt in the LGBT or the trans community, which is, you know, obviously
the queer.
a part of
I say queer because it's a lot.
It encompasses everybody.
Everybody.
There we go. There's the queer community. We gonna stick with that. He made his statement, and you know, we were discussing it. Andy and I, you know, we were even kind of weighing this thing out where he's receiving so much backlash because of his views, his thoughts, where it almost feels like if you do not go with the majority, if you stand alone, you are going to catch so much hate, and obviously most of it is going to be social media, and we know that there are people who drive others away from social media just because it can be so harsh and so bad. Now, whether we agree with what Neo has said or not is a different thing. I'm specifically talking about your opinion on something and where you stand on it. So with Iggy Azalea, she stood on the fact that she wanted to write a character letter, but yet, you know, now that it's out there and everyone knows about it, they are dragging her through the mud, and I feel like that's so unfair for one person to feel, because keep this in mind, many of us have experienced a loved one going to jail, where you believe in them, or even if you know they're innocent, you know their character, you know. So in ways like that, you know, we all kind of can relate to what she's done.
100%.
But not everybody doesn't feel that way.
No. I mean, I guess that's just life because, you know, to your point, everyone in their family, you know, I have to go to a funeral this week, unfortunately, but one of my family members murdered his baby's mama. And so my family is torn, and I'm like, it was wrong, but that's still our family. So, but even in our family, it's like, well, I'm not hugging him. You know, that type of thing.
Wow.
You know
well, then clearly you really understand.
We're going through it right now.
Yeah, wow.
And by the way, I agree with Neo, but we can keep going.
Okay. Okay. Natasha Parker says, I believe they are making an example out of him, and I agree that he should serve some time, but 10 years is a lot. I believe that a lot of people agree with you, Natasha. She also says an apology could have worked, to your point, Neo. Unfair because if that's her friend, why can't she support him? It goes to what we're saying. Andy, did you have a point you wanted to make on this?
I agree with Natasha. He should have said something prior, but I think 10 years is apropos for him. Simply because, like, it's a lesson. It's a lesson. You're a high-profile individual. And quite frankly, to me, it sends a message about gun ownership in a lot of ways, too. Be careful with it. Just be careful.
Especially if you black.
Right. Okay. Before we move on, I have to say I agree in that so many things were going on that night. And he did the most excessive thing that we ever could you could imagine, just shy of actually shooting her and killing her, right? I mean, that would have been obviously horrible for many reasons. But I think there were more people to blame than just Tory and what he's done. And so the fact that everyone has alleviated all the responsibility off of every other party involved, I think is really unfortunate. So I would say 10 years is excessive as well. Just my beliefs on the story. Listen, y'all can think whatever you think, but I do stand behind black women too. Let's just be real. Let's 100%. Keep it real. This is, I know a lot of people will go and say, well, pro-black women, and obviously, right, I'm a black woman. Right. Obviously, I stand behind victims. I have triggers now. I have triggers. I don't stand for any sort of abuse. I don't care if it's domestic violence. Whatever it is, I don't stand for any of it. But this is not what we're talking about necessarily right here. I see y'all going off in the YouTube chat over there. They want to have at it in the YouTube chat, but like I invited you in the beginning. If you want to, you can. I see someone calling in now. I don't know if you want to give your statement or not, but we shall see. You guys are more than welcome to call in at 1-800-920-1580. When we come forward, though, we will have this conversation about will.i.am, who actually talks about being feminine. I don't know that you would consider him a rapper. You certainly would consider him a musician, obviously. Very successful, gone on to do some incredible things with his career. But he talks about being feminine and how it was not accepted in the 90s necessarily, and how, there's more acceptance now. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about Raven-Symoné, who has had some work done. We'll say that. We'll talk about what she's had done, but she's had some work done and what that says about the beauty standards just in society or in the entertainment industry as well. Right now, we've got news, traffic, and sports. You are listening to The Rob Report on KBLA Talk 1580. Stay right there.
What's going on, y'all? It's your boy, Lil Real Howery. Right now, you're listening to KBLA Talk 1580. That's right. The Rob Report.
More The Rob Report with Robin Ayers when we come forward.
I'm Doug Davis, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Black Montgomery, Alabama Police Chief Daryl Albert spoke to media today about the details surrounding what's being called the Alabama Brawl. Albert says police talked with several people at the scene.
13 individuals were detained and brought to police headquarters for questioning and interviews.
A number of arrest warrants are out for the suspects involved. Efforts to restore power are underway in some areas of the eastern U.S. after severe storms slammed the region yesterday. At least 2 people were killed and around 300,000 people were without power as of Tuesday morning. Rapper Travis Scott will go on tour this fall for the first time since the 2021 Astroworld Festival tragedy. The Utopia Presents Circus Maximus tour will kick off September 25th in Chicago, Illinois. The trek will play arenas and stadiums in almost 2 dozen cities. And that is the latest. I'm Doug Davis from the Black Information Network at BINnews.com.
In South L.A. on the 110 southbound before Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, got a crash in the express lanes. It is slow coming away from Washington Boulevard. Also, East L.A. on the 5 southbound before you get to Denton Avenue, got that crash clearing to the right shoulder. You're hitting the brakes, though, from the 510 split. And it looks like in Brea, 57 northbound right at Tonner Canyon Road. Got a report of some debris in the lanes there. I do see some slowing as you're approaching that spot.
Staples Print and Marketing Services help small business print big for less. And now at Staples, you can save even more with 50% back in rewards on print orders. And save business at Staples.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers are back in action tonight. They begin a 2-game series at Arizona. First pitch tonight at 6:40. Lakers guard Austin Reeves had an impressive performance last night in USA basketball scrimmage win over Puerto Rico and Vegas. Reeves and Indiana Pacers guard Tyrese Halliburton combined for 16 assists and only 2 turnovers off the bench. Reeves and Halliburton will be the U.S. U.S. team's backup guard combination in the FIBA World Cup. The team flies to Madrid for exhibition games in Spain this week. The FIBA World Cup tips off August 25th in Manila. Legacy Motor Club fired NASCAR driver Noah Gragson. He was suspended on Saturday for liking a post last week on Instagram that made fun of George Floyd's death in 2020. After reviewing the matter, Legacy Motor Club decided to cut all ties with Gragson. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is dedicated to empowering our communities by providing progressive talk radio for our audience. We strive to be an intersectional voice for the voiceless. As a Black-owned and operated station, we are committed to highlighting diverse perspectives and creating safe spaces for meaningful dialogue. We believe that everyone has something unique to bring to these political, economic, social, and cultural conversations, and we don't shy away from the hard conversations about current events. We endeavor to be a beacon of hope and understanding, while boldly challenging listeners to think more deeply about difficult topics that impact us all. With this in mind, our mission statement at KBLA Talk 1580 is simple: to create an inclusive platform that promotes civil discourse through honest dialogue and encourages personal growth among our listeners, so they can become the active agents of change. Our vision is to establish ourselves as the premier radio network with relevant programming across the beloved community, connecting people through shared experiences and collective power for lasting impact beyond these challenging times.
Extreme heat can make you very sick and can be deadly. For Californians 65 and over, it's important to have a plan. Ask your healthcare provider if your medications affect your ability to cool down. Know the signs of heat illness and stroke, as well as the location of your nearest cooling center or air-conditioned space. And if you have loved ones over 65, be sure to check in on them on hot days. Learn how to stay safer from extreme heat at heatreadyca.com. Brought to you by the state of California.
On a Mission Youth Travel presents the 2023 Morehouse Homecoming HBCU College Tour, October 25th through October 29th in Atlanta, Georgia. Open to high school students grades 9 through 12. For more information, please call 323-298-4779. Again, 323-298-4779. Students will tour Morehouse College, Spelman College, Clark Atlanta University, Alabama State, and Tuskegee University. Email info@onamissionyouthtravel.com. Again, info@onamissionyouthtravel.com. The HBCU tour price includes all meals, transportation, round-trip airfare with one checked bag, hotel accommodations, all museums, college tours, and admission to the Morehouse versus Kentucky State University homecoming football game. Spaces are filling up quickly, so call today to sign up. 323-298-4779. Again, 323-298-4779.
Have you heard about Lendistry? Lendistry is a national Black-led small business lender that is headquartered right here in LA. Once you've started your business, Lendistry provides flexible financing options starting at $50,000 to help you access the affordable capital needed to grow. Visit lendistry.com/KBLA to learn more.
Keeping you informed about what's really going on and what not to miss in entertainment. You're listening to the Rob Report on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey! Real power.
I be everywhere, everybody know me. Super fresh with a dope style. Honey on my wrist, couple carrots on my neck. Givenchy, keep the chickens in check.
Hey,
all these car keys.
You are inside the Rob Report on KBLA Talk 1580. Andy, I'm liking that. I'm liking it a lot. Okay. If you're just joining us, we are talking about the Tory Lanez sentencing. 10 years. Is it excessive? And it seems as though many of you want to chime in on the conversation. Let's go ahead and get to Mike from Pasadena. Now, Mike, a lot of people over here, hey, Mike, 56% of people over in YouTube say that 10 years is excessive for a sentence for Tory Lanez. What do you say, Mike?
As far as that's concerned, I mean, I think the only thing we can do is like look at other cases and see where the median sentencing range is.
Sure.
As far as that's concerned, I don't really have an opinion on that.
Okay.
Since he has been convicted, I mean, he's going to get some type of sentence. But I like what the gentleman said about the fact that it is a gun involved, a male against a female, so there had to be some type of standard as far as the sentencing.
Okay. Well, what did you call
But
it
I did
for?
want to say,
what did you want to chime in on?
I really wanted to appreciate you ladies for really giving some unbiased to it, because as men in the world and with social media and the news, especially black men, we don't really give support. And even how you guys pointed out, both the positive and the negative of Megan Thee Stallion's her impact in society. There's two positives. There's a positive and a negative, and I just like how you guys pointed that out, because there's a lot of delusion when it comes to being fair when there's a male and a female in a typical situation. You know, so I really appreciate hearing that from you guys, because it was fair. You know, so but I hope that, you know, Tory learns about how his part in the situation, but her as well. Since she's a superstar, they're not in there, you know, people are making money off of her. I mean, she's going to get a certain amount of protection to some degree. So we really don't know the full story. We just know what the media has allowed us to hear.
Absolutely.
So that's all I wanted to say.
Well, Mike, thank you so much for that comment, and I appreciate you hearing that as well, because, yeah, it's tough. You know, sometimes you have to navigate the space of social media and come to your own conclusions, because if not, someone would just kind of fall for anything. You'll read what people are saying, and you're like, oh, that must be the answer, but it does take someone, and Niele, I appreciate you as well, like, really standing on something. What do you conclude from the situation? So thank you for hearing that, Mike. We appreciate your call.
Appreciate you. Thank
Absolutely. Let's get to Marcel from Los Angeles. Hey, Marcel, welcome to the Raw Report.
Oh, my goodness. I love the Raw Report just for the starter of the whole situation.
Thank you.
The second part of that is I love what I'm hearing from you guys, the whole evening situation that you guys are talking about. Going into this, and I'm going to be quick. But at the same time, what you're talking about, it has so many variables, so many pieces in place here, right? Because I will say that when this first started, I'm guilty of victim shaming. This young woman that was a victim, because I said myself, she involved in the street, she knows what's going on, yada yada yada. At the end of the day, there's a bullet or fragment in her foot.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So if we want to go to the streets and all that, keep the street level and all that, man versus woman, it should have been hands versus hands. You know what I'm saying? You know, like, where did the gun come in place? You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe his small man complex felt that he had to do that to protect himself from her, which is another thing to talk about. You know what I'm saying?
Don't forget about the drugs and alcohol. We got to keep that at the forefront. It was a lot of drugs and alcohol from all parties involved.
And I hear you and I respect you with all due respect. But at the same time, with drugs and alcohol involved, there's still this one thing that we all have to comply with, which is the law.
True.
Sure.
And hand-to-hand combat is a different thing from when there is a weapon involved.
Well, if you remember, Marcel, if you remember, during the trial, it was actually revealed, too, that there was like a brawl, like an all-out brawl. There were hands thrown with the men, with the women. The security guard was involved. Several people were involved there. So it had to have escalated from there. But it seems as though it did start that way. Again, we don't have all of the details, but you know, you're right about this. There are so many different variables, so many layers to all of this. But I think going back to what we were discussing earlier, true enough, she is shot in the foot, and I absolutely am sorry that happened to her. I don't promote or condone violence or anything like that. It's really unfortunate what happened to her. What I'm saying, though, all I'm saying is that there are multiple people who are involved here and multiple people who are who hold some of the responsibility from what happened that night. And it seems as though she will move forward in her career as being seen as the victim and the victim only. And that part is unfortunate.
Yeah, no, I don't think she's a victim only.
Yeah.
You know, going to the topic of discussion, whether 10 years is heavy or not.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and engagement on his part of it and all that stuff. But at the same time, if you shoot somebody and you get a date to walk, you win it.
Right. Mm-hmm. And he's not going to serve all 10 years. Yeah. As long as he,
if you shoot, if you shot somebody and you got a date to walk, you win.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. Marcel, thank you so much. We appreciate your call. Really,
yes,
you got to call back again. Thank you.
Good night.
Yes.
Let's go ahead. You as well. Thank you so much. Let's go ahead and get to Mimi from Jacksonville, Florida. Hey, Mimi.
Hey, Robin.
Hi.
You know I love the show, but I got to bring in the hammer tonight.
Feel free. Go ahead and jump in there, Mimi.
Okay, as a black woman, I got to say I love black men, but we have to stop coddling black men. We have to stop making excuses. I understand sex, drugs, rock and roll. I understand if you can't handle your stuff, maybe you shouldn't go and do that stuff. I mean, this is, as a person that has lost family members from gun violence, it just really triggered me. And I just have to say, the bottom line is Tory Lanez shot Megan in the foot. And bullets ricochet. I mean, who's to say he could have actually killed her in the car and the other girl. So everybody's got their opinions on social media, and we don't know what happened. That's true. And, yes, as your guest said, sex, drugs, rock and roll, that's true. But Tory, he may be short, but he's a grown man. He's a grown man. You can't shoot somebody because you're angry with her, because y'all had an argument. You've got to use your words, drop her and her friend off, and then you go on your way.
Mimi, thank you for the call. We appreciate you so much. You know, I love when you call, so thank you so much, Mimi.
Thank you.
I don't disagree with Mimi. I don't think any of us disagree with what she's saying, that you can't coddle these men. Absolutely. And to your point, Mimi, my brother was I lost my brother to gun violence in the streets. I love black men, I do, but I'm a black woman. I love black women. I'm going to always stand up for black women. I'm going to always stand with black women, but I'm going to stand for black men too. And whatever is, I've already said, if Tory Lanez shot Megan Thee Stallion, then he shot Megan Thee Stallion and he should be in jail. Is 10 years excessive, and should he be? It seems as though, again, making my point again, that he seems to be the only one responsible. What I was saying earlier is that there are multiple people responsible, including Megan Thee Stallion. Including Megan Thee Stallion. It was brought out in the trial what all happened here. Not all the details, but how many, who was fighting who, and whom was fighting whom, and multiple people with said gun had been. It was an eyewitness who said that even one of the women had the gun. Couldn't necessarily pinpoint who it was.
Right.
But there were multiple things. So I don't necessarily see this as coddling him.
Right.
I don't see that at all. I'm just saying that I believe that he seems to be the only one holding the weight here.
Yeah. And I love us. And so to me, with the whole, we've been talking about the situation with Meg Thee Stallion, and to me, she's a victim, she's a villain. He's a victim, he's a villain. I think that his sentencing is excessive because of his behavior after he was arrested and during the trial. I think if he would have had some remorse during the trial and afterwards and apologized, his sentencing wouldn't have been as long. It wouldn't have been 10 years because we're talking about justice, and your behavior dictates, okay, you don't see any remorse. And the judge pointed that out several times in court.
Yes.
His behavior.
Yeah.
So he has to take accountability for what he did. To your point, Megan is not going to have to take accountability for what she did because she's being painted as, we have to coddle her. But everybody should play a part and take responsibility for the action. The one that didn't know what was going on until later was the friend. She didn't know that they had hooked up and all of that. So it just made for a horrible night. Actions have consequences. Yes. That's why you have cause and effect, and that goes for everybody in that car.
Right, and I agree with you. And again, that's why I say rightfully so that he is in jail. Rightfully so.
Right.
Because you did the crime, you absolutely should do the time. Fahima says we can have our own opinion, but not our own facts. Again, Tory admits to shooting this woman. Period. Well, again,
we're not disputing that.
We are not disputing that. Thank you. That is literally not up for discussion here. We're just talking about him and being the one who's holding all the responsibility here. Selena Rick says, could it be self-defense? Who knows? We just do not know. But again, we are all entitled to our opinions. We are coming from a standpoint of, which is very interesting here. We're talking about a lack of facts that we know.
Right.
Where other people are talking about, we just love Tory Lanez. Like, there was a woman who showed up at court, and she was like a diehard Tory Lanez fan, and she's threatening to fight Megan Thee Stallion, and that is someone who says free Tory Lanez on GP because I love Tory Lanez. That's not what we're saying. However, you do have a lot of people in our community who are like that. They're just fans of him, so they want to see him free. Absolutely not what we are talking about. When we come forward, what a topic. We weren't even able to get to our Will I Am topic and our Raven Simone. We'll probably do that on another day. But I know. When we come forward, we do have your Who's Got Next and What Not to Miss on the other side. And you never know. We might continue this conversation as well. On the other side, you're listening to the Raw Report on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, I'm Damian Young. I'm chilling with Robin on the Raw Report.
You're inside the Raw Report with Robin Ayers on KBLA Talk 1580.
JP Morgan Chase is building on the investments in California and around the country to help close the racial wealth gap and build a more equitable future. As part of JP Morgan Chase's commitment, they are taking action to help improve financial wealth and access to banking in the Black community, helping more people open low-cost checking and savings accounts, hosting community seminars with supporting Black-led institutions by building awareness about financial investments, hiring community managers, and opening community center branches like Crenshaw, Inglewood, and downtown LA. Visit today, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Again, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Get the tools to help reach your financial goals. Visit today, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Again, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity.
Mom's early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take. And when I left the oven on, we decided together that it was time to see a doctor and make a plan. Early detection gave us more time to seek out information and support as a family.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time-to-talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
My vibe smells just right, just right, just right, just right. I gotta try that Febreze car. Just right, just right, just right. La 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 la. Pick up 40 days of consistency. All over Febreze car, fish right on your face. You know my car's my happy place. Keep a smile on my face. It smells just right, just right, just right. And breathe happy Febreze. La 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 la.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
The rent is too damn high. KBLA joins you in calling for affordable housing. The LA Tenants Union is a diverse, tenant-led movement fighting for the human right to housing for all. The LA Tenants Union demands safe, affordable housing and union rent control. They organize against landlord harassment, mass evictions, and displacement, and mobilize for the repeal of the Ellis Act and Costa-Hawkins Act. The LA Tenants Union is on a mission to strengthen tenants' political power through education, advocacy, and direct action. To get help with your eviction or other landlord-tenant issues, take action for justice, or become a member, visit latenantsunion.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Giving you your daily dose of entertainment and celebrity news. You're inside the Robin Report with Robin Ayers on KBLA Talk 1580.
You know what? It's a good day, and I have Niele Anderson with me. You know, I'm not trying to drop the topic so fast here. I really do want to talk about will.i.am. We have literally just a few minutes left, but let's discuss what we can while we're here. I don't even know, Andy, do you want to go ahead and play a little bit of that clip? Let's just kind of set the grounds for what. Yeah, we'll play a short part of what will.i.am has said, just to set the grounds.
Coming of age, and I didn't have a man in my life, a father in my life to guide me through that. My mom did that, which probably made me even ultra feminine. Which is I have no shame of being super feminine. You know, I remember in the 90s, we don't have the support in the LGBT community like now than we did then. So growing up in the 90s, we're like, "Are you gay?" Like, a lot of people question if I was, because I was feminine. I'm still feminine.
Okay. That's just to give you an idea of what he says. will.i.am talks about his mannerisms and sitting the way he sits, speaking the way that he speaks. I never noticed that about will.i.am. I never took him as a feminine man, and it almost feels like he's a little bit more comfortable. He's leaning into that space. Does he make a great point, though, that it's a little bit more accepted, and maybe that's why he's leaning in?
No, we are over sexualizing sexuality. That's what's happening here.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Break that down for me.
We are over sexualizing sexuality. will.i.am has always been eclectic.
Sure, that's a great word.
That's a better word for who he's like. Pharrell. He's like Erykah Badu. You know,
not quite metrosexual. Maybe that falls.
Metrosexual.
Maybe that falls in that category.
But I just feel like we are like in the today's society, we have to fit in this queer box. You know, what are your pronouns? You know, how do you identify? Who cares what you do in the bedroom? You know, like let's just be, you know, who we are. Let's just be human beings. And I just feel like he's fitting into the queer box when you should just be will.i.am, because we've always looked at you as a phenomenal, eclectic, and eccentric artist.
Okay, you are making a lot of sense here, Andy. What did you want to say?
Yo, just, you know, drop the mic on that one. but you know, Wayne Brady came out too.
Yeah.
As pansexual.
Yeah.
So to Neil's point, I think it's the same thing.
So, but my question here is this an unneeded, unnecessary conversation? Should we just be focusing on will.i.am, whom, by the way, I've not heard music from in quite a while. He's uber successful, right? But I've not heard from in a while. But is it just an unnecessary conversation? Let's just talk about you, maybe your background or your music?
Yeah, like who cares?
Everybody's talking about sexuality. Everybody is talking about identifying a particular way, and it's becoming almost an expected part of a conversation.
Right, it's like your name.
Exactly.
Your pronoun is becoming more important than your name.
Okay. Yes, she says will.i.am is just metrosexual. Fahima says that. Sure. So we can kind of say that he's metrosexual. He calls himself feminine.
But as an artist, he's like, think about Pharrell. You know, Pharrell has a family.
Yes.
He has feminine ways, but he's just eclectic or eccentric. Look at Erykah Badu.
Yeah.
She can be considered an alpha male.
Yes.
I mean, an alpha female.
Yes, alpha
like
female.
sometimes women identify as an alpha female because they're dominant. You know, he's into his soft side. Some women are into their alpha side, but it's like it's crazy.
You're right. Natasha Parker says, I don't think he's talking about his sexuality. I don't think so either. We're saying just in general how everybody, every interview and conversation brings up sexuality or however you identify.
But he is, because I read that the article, he also said that he's not gay.
Yes,
that
he says he likes
women.
He says he likes women.
Yeah.
He's just feminine. Marcus Atkins says, let's not forget how Prince made feminization of masculinity acceptable. It's rock and roll, so it's not that serious. I agree, and I say be who you want to be. I never even thought to think about will.i.am sexuality or feminism or anything like. I never thought about that. So bringing it up now, it almost makes me skew the vantage point of when I do look at you or when you do put out music. I'm like, now I have to think about that. I don't want to think about that.
I'm more concerned about are the Black Eyed Peas coming back out.
I want to know
Black Eyed Peas. How about that?
I'm a fan of the Black Eyed Peas.
How you identify and what you do, I don't care.
It's not really up for discussion. We really don't want to know. But now I'm looking. Now when I see will.i.am, I'm gonna be like, is he crossing his legs? Is he looking at the way his wrists fall? I don't necessarily care. But you brought this up now in conversation, or maybe someone asked him a question about it. We don't know. I didn't see the full interview, just a few clips. But it's just one of those things that I think we are kind of getting a little bit. We are over-sexualizing. How did you say it? You said it so wonderfully.
Now you got me confused. We're over-sexualizing sexuality.
We are over-sexualizing sexuality. I think that is a big part of it. Well, listen, let me tell you what not to miss and who's got next. Who's got next? It's a gentleman named, his name is Josh X, and the song that I was going to play is called Love Takes Me Higher, but definitely check him out. I heard him on the radio, seems to be doing some fantastic things. You got to just check that out for sure. I'm just a big advocate of people, new artists, and doing great things, so definitely check him out. And there is another, what I don't want you to miss is a film, and we're going to talk about it another time because we have some time. In September, there is a film coming out with someone who I love, Lakeith Stanfield, and it's coming to Apple TV. It's coming September 8th, and it's going to be good. It's actually going to be pretty good. It's called The Changeling. Ooh, okay, that's going to be good. We'll talk about that at another time. Please let everybody know where they can find you on all social media platforms.
You can find me at Niele, Nielela, and you can check me out this Thursday on KCAL 9 at 10:45 a.m., bringing you the Sentinel Community Insider, which means that we're bringing you the hot topics in Black news and culture.
Well, we absolutely love having you here. Thank you so much for joining me on the
so
Rob Report.
Fun.
We got to have you back for sure. You guys, thank you so much. What a great conversation, and thank you for our contributing people who wanted to call in and contribute to the conversation. We appreciate you. I'm your host, Robin Ayers, and remember, today and every day forward to be a blessing.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Doug Davis, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. U.S. officials are hoping a military takeover in Niger can be reversed. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller told reporters a senior U.S.